Good afternoon, everybody. Good to see you all. Hopefully you're staying cool with this warm weather we've got out there right now. So welcome to August edition of our town hall meeting. I was told that I'm not allowed to give any bad news, and I said, well, I'm not planning on it. I'm just giving you updates today. I can't guarantee anybody else is going to get up here and stand and speak, but I'm not planning on giving you any bad news. So with that being said, we'll kick it off, and I'll call forth Pastor Elliott to open us in prayer and give you the pastoral care update.
Raleigh, they've already asked me, why are you looking at me? All right. I don't think I have any bad news. We'll find out. All right. Let us open with prayer. Dearest Lord, Heavenly Father, we give you thanks and praise for the beauty of this day and for these few moments that we get to spend together to catch all the updates of what is happening behind the scenes and right in front of us here at the Lutheran Haven. This place that you have established and continue to sustain day by day, moment by moment. We thank you and we praise you for all that you have done. We thank you that you continue to operate alive and well in our midst, caring for us and keeping us as we go. Bless us now in the hearing of all that is before us, and strengthen and preserve us in the faith, all into life everlasting. This we ask in Jesus' name. Amen. All righty. Pastoral care update. Hey, yeah, there it is. It's the 20th. All right, we're so far so good. No bad news yet. All right. Just a reminder, especially if you're a new resident here, that we do have Bible studies regularly between the two campuses of St. Luke's and the Lutheran Haven. Here at the Lutheran Haven, we have Bible studies on Monday mornings at 10 a.m. in Harbor Hall. And 11 a.m. over at the lodge. If you have a loved one at the lodge and you'd like to go to Bible study with them, that's a great time to go on over and visit and take in God's Word while you're there. Also, Tuesdays at 1:30 at the Landings Parlor, there's another Bible study as well. We encourage you to attend all of them. No grimaces? Okay. You guys are doing nicely so far. Wonderful. All right. Also, over at St. Luke's, all the Bible studies have resumed as well. The men and women's Bible study Wednesday morning at 10:45. I think there's another additional B women's Bible study, but I'm not a woman. I don't attend that one. I think it's Thursdays. But you can go to the St. Luke's website and figure that out. Also at the Haven Fellowship Hall here on Wednesday nights, the Community Night Bible Study is back up and running. We're doing a survey of the minor prophets, which means we're not going into depth into God's Word as much as we are trying to extrapolate what is going on in history and why does God have this prophet speaking. So that's what we're looking at for the rest of Pentecost. All right. Sunday Bible studies are up and running. Of course, they have been running all summer long. I encourage you to check St. Luke's website for all those announcements and current offerings. Sanctuary, all right, there are two service times every Sunday morning. Whew, that's hard for me to get used to. 9 a.m., Sanctuary and Generations. The Generation services for those little ones that are just learning how to worship and learning about all the Bible stories. That's the intention of that service. And, of course, at 10:30, we still have another service in the Sanctuary. We have the Fuel service, which is a more contemporary setting, and we have the service over here at the Harbor Hall, which is also a traditional service, but we have communion there every week, which I have found is be very beneficial for a lot of folks who, something has happened, you've missed a Sunday, you've missed Holy Communion, you're back here at the Haven, you're recuperating, you're not quite as mobile as you were, but you're on your way to healing, but now you need communion and come on over, have a rest, sit down, hear God's Word, and receive His sacrament. So we encourage you to come on over to Harbor Hall. We're worshiping in the neighborhood of 70 there every week, but we have room for more. So we encourage you to make use of that. Their worship times Monday night at 7 p.m. And, of course, the afternoon divine service is August the 27th at 1:30, which is another one of those services for the less mobile within the entire congregation. And there's food afterwards, which is always nice. Fellowship time, we are trying to intentionally increase fellowship amongst all of our members. If you're going to worship at the church, that's time slot between 10 and 10:30 is the fellowship time over the church. Over here at the harbor, we have fellowship after the service, which means we get to ruin a bunch of lunches, which is always sweet. But the conversation is lively, so it's good. All right. Other news. Believe it or not, I've had 1 day of vacation this year so far. Yeah, there we go. We got the violin out. All right. So I'm going to take some vacation in September. And of course, I've already reserved my vacation for hunting right around after Thanksgiving period. So I'll be disappearing for another 10 days then to do a little bit of hunting and sit in the woods and just watch the squirrels. I don't shoot squirrels, but I just like to watch the squirrels. At any rate, school is back in session, as I'm sure you all have seen, the increase in traffic. And of course, we asked you kind of stay away from St. Luke's during those peak traffic times because we have a lot of signs up telling parents to get off their cell phones, but they don't see the sign if they're on their cell phone, amazingly enough, and they probably won't see you. So be careful as you are over there. There is a St. Luke's expansion, the campus expansion meeting this Sunday at 11:45 after that 10:30 service. We encourage you to come and see what the initial plan is and to make sure you give us all your good feedback. I can think of 2 things already that are going to hit the fan, as they say. But I'll leave that up to you because that is the job of every member to give us your voice. All right. Explorations, a lot of different programs that have been kind of resting for the summer are up and running again. Things like Explorations is back in swing. Grief Share is there. We have Trivia Night coming up this Friday night. If you haven't already signed up for that, you might as well come and help the youngins who don't know anything about trivia. All right? It's easy because you just walk in and you say, "Young man, I've forgotten more than you know." And you get instant respect. All right. All right, at any rate, that's the other news. And I'm going to ask Paul to come on up, Paul Wiegert to come on up and tell us a little bit more about how Neighbor to Neighbor is getting along since its inception and out and start in late January. Got a question, I hope. Topic of the Monday morning Bible study at the harbor is the question. I don't know. Pastor Shaver is running that Bible study, and he has been going through all the Gospels. Last I knew, he was in the Gospel of John. He might still be there. He might have moved on to Acts. I'm not positive. But so come and find out. There you go. All right, sir. You're up.
All right. Thank you. It's good to be back after about a 6-week vacation, but that's what retired people do, see? But I want to thank Dave Warpegel for helping out during this time, and he must have did a great job because I didn't get any phone calls, so I'm sure everything was solved. And I want to really thank the people here, the volunteers, and all of that, and really have done a great job. And as you can see, that we're about 7 months old, and we've had close to, if you added everything, I know it's more than 95, but 95 people have been helped, and we're really thankful of that because I hear a lot of good things about that. The needs are being met here in those areas, and I want to thank those volunteers for the good hard work that they have been doing, and they have been God's hands and feet here at the Haven. So I'd like to encourage you guys, if you would like to volunteer, whether it be an office help or visitation or just making a phone call for someone perhaps who needs to talk to someone, or of course running errands or a transportation tour off campus, as well as tech help. But we got to remember that there's no guarantees. We're not miracle workers, but we try our best to do or to meet the needs of those people who are asking. And again, if you like to volunteer, I can tell you that I'm certainly glad that it's a part here. And with my whole situation, it really has helped me as far as to cope and to serve. And I thank them for the opportunity that they've given to me to do that. And that's all I have.
Before he gets too far away, are there any questions for Paul? All right, I see none. Good, we're done. Get out of here. All right. All right, well, Raleigh had asked me to prepare a little something here today, and so this is a little different, and I thought I would do so in light of our sense of community here. One of the pieces of Scripture that has come to touch my heart and something I've been looking at for a long time has been the upper room scene. It's recorded in the Gospel of John between chapters 13 and 17. And it's an interesting evening because as you go through it, and if you look at it through the lens of a disciple, you see their hearts and minds in upheaval. They are hearing things from Jesus that they have heard before. They're hearing things from Jesus they haven't heard before. They're seeing new things. And they're going, what does this mean? The whole night. So just a couple things I want to point out, and this is all just from chapter 13. The chapter opens up with Jesus washing the disciples' feet, and he comes to Peter. And he says, what I am doing you do not understand now, but afterward you will understand. And Peter said to him, you shall never wash my feet. Jesus answered him, if I do not wash you, you have no share with me. Of course, Simon Peter's reply was this, Lord, not only my feet, but everything, my head and my toes. All right. We know this to be, we understand this to mean that the washing that is coming is not, it's more than just a master bending the knee and washing a servant's feet. It is the master, the God of the universe, who has come down to wash his people with his holy and precious blood. In fact, Jesus goes on to say, truly, truly, I say to you, a servant is not greater than his master, nor is a messenger greater than the one who sent him. If the God of the universe steps off his throne, enters into our lives as human flesh, and then willingly places himself on the cross, which is a place of ridicule, a place of cursing and death in our place, we should be standing in awe. We should be ever thankful for those things that our Lord has given us. And what is our Lord's design here? Well, it is simply this. A new command I give you, that you love one another just as I have loved you. You also are to love one another. By this, all people will know that you are my disciples if you have love for one another. And that's where the hearts of the disciples hit the floor. They've called him the Christ. They know he is their Lord. And he has commanded them, a command from God himself to them to love each other as he has loved them, and they know they can't. How humbling. Our Lord has created this place we call the Haven. And as I said in my prayer, he sustains it day by day. And all of us know all of these wonderful things that happen day in and day out here. Not only the Neighbor to Neighbor project, which is by all standards of the Haven very new, but also what you all do for your neighbors day in and day out. There are stories galore around this place of how we come to the aid of one another. How we model this love for one another, though imperfectly. This is a truly special place to live. It's a special place to join in camaraderie with each other and to be humbled by our Lord's sacrifice and in turn share that sacrifice with each other. So yeah, it kind of pains me to stand up here and say that there have been a few reports as of late where residents haven't been treating each other well or treating the staff well. We all know we're human beings. We all have really lousy days sometimes. And it comes pouring out of our mouths, it comes pouring out of our hearts in ways we didn't design for it to happen. But it happens nonetheless. So when these things happen, I encourage you to A, help each other recognize it, and B, don't forget to turn and ask for forgiveness. Because even as you do that, it actually proclaims what you believe. That forgiveness is available. I have been washed with the blood of the Lamb. And that living in this place is a model and a proclamation to the world around us of who we are and who Christ is. I thank you for being so often such a wonderful example to me. It is a joy to serve here, even with all the goings on and the heavy hearts from just things that are happening. I get it. But let us never forget that our Lord has planted us here. He continues to sustain us here, and He loves us beyond measure. Let us do our best to show that love to one another in continuing ways. And I do truly give you thanks for all you guys do for each other, so I don't have to do it. I couldn't manage it. I am so thankful for all of you. But when we have those bad days, let's hold each other up. Let's take each other in our arms and let's help each other recover. Okay? God's blessings to you as you go. Amen. All right. So I'm supposed to ask Lynn to come up after all that. I'm sorry, Lynn. Yeah. There you go, party girl.
I got to work the clicker now. See if this works. Okay. So just want to thank everyone for coming out for the 4th of July bash that we had. We had a lot of golf carts, a lot of walkers, some motorcycles, some bicycles. So that was fantastic. I hope you guys all enjoyed. Great way to bring in the 250th celebration. And then just a reminder, if you guys need anything, linen, just come and see me. My phone number's on the door, so if I'm not there, which is a lot, I go shopping a lot, just call me. I very rarely say no, but the linen room is a mess, so it's going to take me a few days to clean up. So some things coming up on Monday is National Waffle Day. So during Coffee Klatch, we will have waffles and sausage served, as well as coffee and pastries, the normal stuff as well. So if you haven't signed up, just sign up outside activities while you're here, or give me a call if you're at home. You don't want to come over, just let me know. On Monday, August 31st, we have our Sip and Social. Come chat with me from 12 to 1. Let me know what kind of trips, movies, bingo themes. Let me know what you want to do. Let's spice it up a little bit around here, have some parties. National Ice Cream Cone Day I have on September 22nd. Stay tuned for more information on that. It's not going to be in the hall. I think I may come around. Little ice cream truck action going on. I'll come to you. And then National Drink Coffee Day is Tuesday, September 29th. just an added coffee clatch Monday and Tuesday. Ways to celebrate. Then on September 2nd, we are going to have arts and crafts. The corner out there is going to be made into my brain just went blank, sorry. Cornerstone Rock Garden, inspiration, memorial rocks, just kick it off, paint some rocks. It's kind of a mock version of what we're trying to build out there, make it a little pretty. So come. The rocks will be available after September 2nd to paint, just in case you can't make it. Other upcoming events, we have our Beach Bag Bingo August 26th, Cafe Panuzzo's August 28th for our birthday lunch. LWML will start back up. We'll have our movie. UCF classes start back up. Bells and choirs start back up. Notes and Nibbles will be back in October. Town Hall the 15th, plant-based, all that fun jazz. And then that is our new karaoke machine for the pub. So anyone, when Linda Belkey, if she's here, she decides to have her karaoke over there, it is available. It is in the music room, so anyone can come over and get it. Just we asked you to put it back. This way it's safe and sound. And then a lot of residents have asked for hats and visors with the Lutheran Haven logo on it. So I have order forms outside the office in the bin. So if you would like a hat or a visor, it's there for you. Oh, now Stephanie. Sorry, short, sweet, to the point. I have sign-up sheets and flyers.
Hello. I don't know how to work this, so let's see. Oh, perfect. Okay. All right, so I would like to welcome our newest residents to the Haven, and I was glancing around. I don't think any of them are here today. Oh, yes, there is one here. Yay. So first, Carolyn Lawson, new resident at the Landings, and she moved here from Port Charlotte, Florida. So welcome. We're happy she's here. Oh, I'm used to Raleigh doing this, sorry. And then next up, we have the Brueggemanns. And they are new residents back in Section 4, and they are from Ohio. And Westerville, Ohio, and they still spend time in Ohio. They were previously snowbirders, so that's where they're at right now. So eventually, you'll be seeing them around. And then last but not least, we have Mrs. Virginia Stanko, and she is also a new resident over at the Landings. And she moved here all the way from, I think it was Winter Springs. I can't see that. I don't think she has it on there, but yeah, she's local. Winter Springs, Winter Park, one of those W's. So that is it. Does anyone have any questions for me about anything else? No? Okay. Well, next up is, who is that? Oh, Vince. Vince, you are next up.
Hey everybody, how's it going? Good, all right. Hey, look at that, Active Aging Week, that's coming up. You remember that? That was fun stuff, wasn't it? We're going to do that again this year. How does this thing change? Is it changing? No? User error? Okay. Hey, Aquafit's in full throttle right now. If you guys want to do Aquafit, if you're interested in that, get out to the pool while the weather's good. It's nice and hot right now. Classes are in full swing. The weather is going to get chilly in a couple months, so I know that the water's not as tolerable when that happens, so try to take advantage of these Aquafit classes while you can right now while the weather is good. Aquafit's got a lot of good benefits for you. You can strengthen your body. If you have arthritis, it's excellent for strengthening your body if you have arthritis because you exercise in the water, so it's going to provide buoyancy to your body, which is going to be very gentle on your joints. What do you need? You don't need anything really, just a bathing suit and some water. and then just show up to the class, and the instructor will pretty much lead you through the class and show you what to do. So very simple. You don't even need to know how to swim, because Aquafit is done with your feet on the ground, so your head will not be underwater at all. So feel free to come and check out those Aquafit classes. Moving on to another pool-based exercise. This is going to be a new class that we're starting on Saturdays. It's going to be called Praise and Worship Aqua Exercise. It's going to be Saturdays. It's starting the first week in September. That's going to be Saturday, September 5th, and it's going to be at 9:30. This is going to be led by Chris Fairchild. So if you guys have any questions or anything about the class, feel free to get with Chris. Her number is on the screen right there. It's going to be 30 minutes. Consider this like an active rest day almost. Okay, so it's going to be a nice way to transition into the weekend, away from all the craziness that we do here Monday through Friday. It's going to be kind of low key, very gentle prayer, some nice Christian worship music, and then just very gentle aqua exercises, some stretching, very low key. So if that's something you're interested in, feel free to come check that out. That's going to be September 5th at 9:30, and then every Saturday moving forward, probably until the weather just gets a little bit unbearable. So here's a list of the class times. So everything that goes on in the pool, this is it. We got 4 different options for you. We have Aquafit and then Praise and Worship. So the difference between the two is probably the degree of difficulty. Aquafit is going to be a little bit more upbeat. It's going to be a little bit more advanced, and then the Praise and Worship is going to be just a little bit more low key. Like I said, almost like an active rest day. Still good for everyone. Come check that out. It's going to be great. But yeah, if you have any questions about that, feel free to get with me or Chris Fairchild, and we'd be happy to help you with that. If you haven't seen, we have the Recovery Lounge. If you don't know about that, that's right over here in where the gym is. It's on the back side of the gym. There's some curtains back there, kind of where my office is. It's a little room that's blocked off with the curtains. There's a nice recliner back there. We have the Beamer back there. So what that is, it's a PEMF technology. So that's pulsed electromagnetic field therapy. And basically what that does is it uses gentle electromagnetic pulses that interact with your body's cells. Overall, basically what that does is it improves your body's circulation, which has many good benefits from doing that. We also have cold towels in the mini fridge. So if you guys exercise or you just get back from a long walk and you're sweating and you're hot, feel free to go over there, grab yourself a cold towel, cool off. All I ask is that you take it home with you, wash it, and then bring it back. Just no rush whatsoever, though. You can bring it back in a week, 2 weeks. There's no rush. Just wash it with your next load of laundry, bring it back, and then there's a drop-off bin in the Recovery Lounge as well for all the clean towels. If you guys are interested in learning more about the Beamer, get with me, and I'll schedule like an initial consultation with you and show you how the machine works and like the proper settings for you. And then moving forward, it's pretty easy. It's kind of self-service. You can just come and use it on your own and kick the machine into gear, and it's pretty easy. We'll have a sign-up sheet out there, so you don't have to wait. If you want to reserve a spot for that, then you can just sign your name up. That way it's locked in for you, or you can just try to walk in, and hopefully there's an opening there as well. It's up to you. Active Aging Week coming up. So that's going to be October 5th through the 9th. This is the Active Aging Week. This is a annual week-long campaign initiated by the ICAA. That's the International Council of Active Aging, basically designed to celebrate older adults by promoting healthy, active lifestyles. Okay, what can you expect from Active Aging this year? We're going to have different fitness classes, different wellness activities, kind of like we did last year. We're going to have informative educational presentations through different guest speakers on various days during that week. We'll have the health fair with health screenings and a bunch of different vendors right here in Fellowship Hall on that week, kind of like we did last year. So feel free to tell your friends and tell your family and come check that out. We still have a little bit more time, so there'll be more details to come on that as well. Here's a couple pictures from last year. We had this was the Haven Olympics right here. So we had some, different events that we were doing, different games that were being played, Cheerio Olympics, cup stacking. This was the wellness walk right here. So we walked I think it was a half mile. Can't remember. You guys might have better memory than I do. But yeah, it was good stuff. Ended up by the pool, had some refreshments and everything. Hey, if there was one medicine that I would say that you could take that doesn't require a prescription, I'd say that's movement, because your bodies are pretty amazing. They can do things that you tell them to do. So for example, like if you want to get stronger, then all you got to do is train your strength, and over time, with repetition and consistency, your bodies are going to get stronger. If you want to improve your balance, then all you have to do is train your balance, and over time, your balance is going to increasing your nervous system and its ability to control movements, which is going to improve your balance. So think of your body like a car, okay? And your car, you could have a beautiful car just parked in your driveway, and it doesn't get driven, it doesn't get maintained. Over time, it's going to deteriorate. So our bodies are very similar. You cannot just leave them parked. You got to move them, okay? So get out to these exercise classes, join Active Aging Week. If you have any questions, feel free to give me a holler. And that's it. You guys have any questions? No? Good? All right. Resident Living, Raleigh.
Thanks, Vince. Appreciate you, buddy. He talks about the best prescription you can get, or the best medicine is movement. I went to the doctor on Monday. I went in for one thing and came out, and I had a prescription for blood pressure medicine. I had a colonoscopy checkup to get done. And that's not even what I went in for. So, yeah, I'm finding that out more and more every day. Jeez, Pete. Okay, a couple project updates for you to get started off here. Wood shop, the exterior painting, and that was supposed to, it's starting this week at some point. It would be between today and tomorrow. They got to pressure wash it and all that, and they're going to be repainting the wood shop. And then once that's done, we've got a new garage door coming for it. They're going to replace that garage door that's on there. So, and the windows are on order. So we're a couple weeks out from those things being installed. And once that's done, they're going to come in and insulate the inside of it, like we talked about. And then the electrical will come last. So that's all about to kick off. The village shop roof is being installed on Monday and Tuesday. I say that because tomorrow a dumpster is being dropped off for it, and I've already coordinated everything with Sally Rose, so no village shop will be open tomorrow or Saturday. Monday and Tuesday are their off days, so that's when the roof's getting replaced. And as soon as the roof is done, we'll be lining up the exterior painting for that building as well. And then just to let everybody know, the Be Well Clinic will be undergoing some renovation next week. I've coordinated with Julie Eisman. Pay attention to the scroll, because that'll have some information in there about where anything going on to Be Well next week. It's going to be relocated over at the harbor and whatnot while that's going on. Basically, what we're doing is we're expanding the waiting area there. We're adding another exam room in there. We're converting one of the rooms into a third exam room. And then they have like a storage closet that we're opening up and making that kind of like a reception area so that we can expand the waiting room in there. Duration of that is supposed to last just next week, and then the following week, the week after, the Be Well will open back up. So just wanted to update everybody on what's going on in the projects. Reminders, I want to bring this one up. The pool is for Haven residents, their guests, and the Haven staff, okay? Notice I didn't say that Haven guests had to be accompanied, all right? Because I understand you get families that come into town and whatnot. You may not feel well, but your children want to go to the pool, your grandkids want to go to the pool. That's fine. Here's what I'm going to remind you. If you got family in town, they go use the pool. Not everybody knows who they are, okay? So please tell them if they're asked, let them know who the resident they are is visiting so we know who they are, okay? Now, with that being said, grandkids, kids, children need to be accompanied. That's for safety reasons. All right. So I just bring that up because we have had some people show up at the pool that nobody knew who they were. I didn't know who they were. This is supposed to be, we don't let anybody outside our community into that pool. So just keep an eye out for that because, I had an instance about 6 months ago where somebody down the street thought they can come in and use the pool and was tailgating somebody else going into the pool. And I'd have a conversation and say that this is a private place, so please leave. All right. That being said, fellowship hall rentals, if you're interested in renting the fellowship hall for a family event or some other event that you want to do, please contact Lynn. There's no charge for you to use it, but the schedule does fill up fast, so don't just assume that you don't see anything going on that you can have the hall. Please just make sure all that coordination goes through Lynn so that she can get you taken care of properly there. All right? Okay, now... talk about Dallas Jenkins. You probably have seen the flyers in your farm boxes and maybe you've heard through the churches and whatnot what's going on here. Coming soon, an evening with Dallas Jenkins, the creator, director, and co-writer of The Chosen. How many of you know about The Chosen? Most of you, okay. For those of you who don't, okay, I'll get to that in a second, but we have partnered with St. Luke's to present an evening with Dallas Jenkins, the creator, co-writer, and director of The Chosen. That is, it's his compelling presentation. That he's got a unique story behind that and what God's done with him. And that's coming on October 3rd, 2026, 7:30 p.m. over in St. Luke's main sanctuary. Okay. So, this is a groundbreaking show that's going on, and it's pretty well done. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, they're getting ready to go into a new season, or they're going to be directing a new season starting early next year. It's consistently performed well throughout. So we have been blessed to be able to bring him in as a guest speaker. Well, I wouldn't say a guest speaker. He's coming in as a speaker to do this event for us. And that's what it's called, Loaves and Fish, From Failure to The Chosen. And it's going to take you behind the scenes and give you the details of how that program came about and what he's doing. Why are we doing this? So we're raising money for our benevolent care program and the other wellness programs that we have going on campus out here. And so just to give you a little backstory on some of this, we were going after a Christian band about a year ago, and that one fell through. And so I challenged Mary Ann with going after some guest speakers or whatever, and she came up with Dallas Jenkins, and that one resonated with most people. And so originally it didn't look like we were going to be able to pull it off. And then we think, correct me if I'm not mistaken, Mary Ann, we think that the reason he chose us and dropped his price was because we think he might have seen that 3-minute LCEF video that was done about a year ago, and his booking agent called back and he drastically reduced his honorarium price and said, "I like your mission." And this is wonderful. I mean, this is a God thing. All of a sudden, all the doors started opening up for this event to happen here. All right, so you've seen the flyer come out, and we've had a lot of questions on things about how to access. So I'm going to walk you through just to kind of give you kind of how the process works, okay? So we've had press release that started this week, and it's been going out, and we've got a PR firm helping us out with that in coordination with St. Luke and our own social media stuff and whatnot. And so this is the flyer that goes out. You might have seen this in the farm box, and you got the QR code, and you're like, what the heck do I do with this thing? All right. If you're tech savvy, you know that you hold the phone up there, and then you hit the little button, and it takes you to the link and all that. But if you go to our website, this is what it currently looks like, okay? At the very top of the welcome, you'll see the Dallas Jenkins ticket info. You can click on that button, or you can drop down below here, and you can either scan that if you're tech savvy enough with your phone, or you can click on that, all right? It'll tell you those details. What it'll take you to when you do that is this. At the top of the screen, it'll give you all the bio information and whatnot on that event that I showed you on the slides earlier. But if you scroll down, you'll start to see this screen here. And it'll show 3 different levels of pricing. Okay, you got the VIP experience. That's you get the VIP gives you dinner with Dallas Jenkins, a pre. What's the word I'm looking for, Marianne? The reception and dinner. Yeah, thank you. Reception and dinner, right? And then front row seating for the event at St. Luke. The general admission prices are $60. That gives you general admission in the sanctuary, and then there's overflow in the Founders Hall for a reduced price as well. So 3 different levels and whatnot, okay? And that's kind of how you navigate, because we've had a flood of phone calls saying, how do I navigate this thing? I'm not sure what to do. If you have any calls, if you're running into any problems, you're interested in it, just call me. I'll help you through it the best I can, okay? But that's really what this event is going to do. And the goal was not only to raise funds for our benevolent care fund and the community here, but it was also to give us greater exposure outside of our community, so that others could know and call in and find out more about not just living here, but the different services that we offer, through our outpatient therapy services and and home health and things of that nature. Learn about the harbor and the lodge, for instance, and just give a greater exposure so people say, oh, Lutheran Haven, yes, now I know what this is about, and this is wonderful. So just pray. This is a condensed time frame that we're trying to pull this off. We got a team of people moving forward with it. Speaking of a team of people, I'm going to put a shameless plug out there right now that I'm also working on volunteers for this event, because I'm going to need probably 12 to 15 volunteers to help with various things. I've already had a couple residents approach me and say, I'll volunteer. Here's what you get for volunteering. You don't have to pay one of these prices. Now, you're not going to go to the VIP, right? But you're going to get to see the event inside, if you help out. So if you're interested in volunteering, if you're able to, just reach out to me, call me, I'll get you on the list. And then, I'm coordinating all the logistics with St. Luke and whatnot. I need people for ticket intake when we get there, and ushers and things of that nature as well. So that's where we stand on the Dallas Jenkins event. Any questions on any of that I just presented? If not, I will be, for the sake of time, I'll call Jerry up here, but I'll be available after this to answer questions during the Q&A period. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you all for coming. I just want to, Raleigh, I just want to let you know I am volunteering right now to be a seat filler. So just let me know, and I'll be glad to prove my services for that. A couple of quick things. One, we'll just let you know what I'm going to be talking about. We're going to talk about a little bit of the 2026 operating, this fiscal year, where we stand. I'll go through that relatively quickly, and then the budget and rate setting process, and hopefully I'll be able to, in the presentation, give you some answers as to what went into the rates and how they were calculated. Again, thank you all for coming, and thank you guys for being who you are. I think Raleigh talked about what a special place this was. Pastor Elliott talked about what a special place it was, and I can tell you, and I mention it most every time I'm up here, it is a joy to work here. We love coming here and working with and for you guys, and with and for the people that we work with. But a special thanks goes out to the EARC. We had a wonderful July employee celebration that was, for the most part, underwritten by the EARC and staffed by the elves. Is that the proper word? Are they always elves year round? Okay. Well, there's a good question. I think that's almost an existential question, right? Very deep. Thank you, Gordon. But I want to put emphasis on the thanks for that fiesta, especially for the Nerudas, Cholulas, what are those things we had? Churros, Nerudos, churros. I sampled each batch as they came out of the oven to ensure quality was maintained, and it was. So Again, one item that I didn't have on my agenda that I wanted to let you guys know, a while back, some people had asked about the organizational chart and that kind of stuff, and the company organization, all the different services, and who is over those various services. So I don't know if it's up yet, but if not, it'll probably be up tomorrow on the resident portal. I went ahead and put up the same information that we provide our board in their board book. It's an organizational chart, and then there's a separate file that kind of lets you know which person belongs in which of those slots that's up there. So I did want to let you guys, let you know that I did hear that. It just took me a year and a half Haven time to get it up there for you. So moving on to the 2026 operations. Again, I'll go through this relatively quickly. I think you guys are starting to get used to seeing this. We're at 93, a little over 90, right, just under 94% occupied in the independent living, and we're about 69% occupied in our harbor and lodge. So both of those, that was as of a few days ago. And for the most part, the 205 number is still a good number for us. Even though it says it was August 6th. Year to date, we're pretty much right on budget with everything, so that's a good thing for us. If we look at Lutheran Haven as a whole, again, I try to show this most of the time. The past few months, you've seen we've been behind the prior year. You can see now that the green here over in the year over year, we're about 15% better than where we were at this point last year. So through the 10 months through June, we're about 15, and that continues a trend over each year. We have that loss has gotten less and less and less, but you can still see it is a loss. Our G&A expenses are under, so we're doing a good job of. I think our staff is doing a good job, and they're swimming a lot because that's a very, very good ratio. But just to let you guys keep you aware of what's going on. Not so great on the independent living side. We're still about 9%, about 18% worse than we were last year at this point, and that primarily has to do with repairs and maintenance. We've had there's a couple of big one-time items that are influencing that number that if we factor those out, then we're pretty much in line with where we were last year and maybe even a little bit better. So we understand why that's there. So we've gone backwards a little bit on that cost per unit number over the last couple of months. But like I said, if you adjust for those one-time expenses, those one-time repairs and maintenance expenses, large ones, that number comes back pretty much back in line. So we're not too concerned with that number, and we hope that by the end of the year that number will be back to a positive number, because each of the last 4 years that number has gotten better year over year over year. So that's kind of where we are now through June anyway. Going into the budget and rate setting, we talked about this before. The budget is based on the trustees' objectives and their guidance to us. It balances the needs of you guys versus the needs of the future, and it represents our best guess of how we're going to do that. The rate setting process for new residents, it's done based on market studies and what the competitive analysis that we do, as well as what our costs are and what our mission is. So we don't want to be the high end and charge the most or anything like that. That's not our mission. But we do need to charge enough. And so we've got to balance those things, and we want to make sure that in the marketplace we maintain the value proposition that we are within the marketplace. So we always continue to work on those. Let's see where okay. So the budget process, pretty easy. We start with where are we? How are we doing this year? Where we thought we would be? Then we talk about where we want to be in the coming year. And once we have where we want to be in the coming year, it's just mapping. How do we get there? And we have different levers that we can pull in order to do that. We can expand services, we can try and do more outreach and get more business in, we can cut back on programs, or we can raise revenue, we can raise rates. Those are pretty much the three levers that we have in our planning on how we get from point A to point B. So as we set the rates for the independent living, that budget is pretty much done. There'll be some tweaks on it maybe, but nothing major. The rest of the budget for the rest of the Haven, we're still finalizing that. We're in the final stages. We have our board meeting, will be starting on Monday, and during that board meeting, the board will be presenting the budget to the board for their approval and input, and hopefully we'll have the final budget for the year finished by that time. Let's see. All right. When we talk, so that's kind of on the budget side. On the rate setting process, we try to be transparent. That's why this year we've made the special effort that I talk about the financials and where we are more and more, and I try and do it at least every other month, if not every month. And we again included the Resident Executive Committee President, Dwayne. We didn't get to meet as often as we did last year, but we did meet, and I kept him informed of what was going on, and he had input into the process, and we appreciate that very much. And we looked at, and we want to share these expected costs and the reasons behind them. So that will be coming as I go through the remaining part of this. For new residents, that's what I mentioned. The rates are set based on competition and based on the market and whatever economic conditions might be coming along, and then keeping those within the mission of the organization. Okay, so overall, our methodology, we look at the changes in economic conditions, what's going on. We had several of those this year, primarily related to labor. There were a lot of things happening in the labor markets. Some of it regulatory, some of it just market driven, particularly in the minimum wage, Florida minimum wage, and salary surveys that we use to gauge where we are in that, as well as the health insurance market. We had very looks like pretty large increases in health insurance. And then we look at the gap, as we've talked about before, where there's a gap between what our monthly service revenue brings in and what the cost of the services that it should cover are, and there's a gap. So the cost of those services is higher than the average revenue, and each year we try and reduce that gap, or at least not let that gap grow. And the idea that we aim is not to let that gap grow. If we can reduce the existing gap, and we've seen some reductions in that over the last few years. A lot of that has to do with people, some of the older residents who were paying or longer tenured residents who have been paying less rates as they leave, and new people come in at paying a higher rate. That organically narrows that gap, and we've seen benefits of that quite a bit. And then again, we want to maintain our best value status in the market, and we have over the years. So for 2027, the rate increases are the product or sum of three components. What we call a layer one, and that represents the expected increase in year-over-year costs for the services that we provide. Then we have what we call the layer two, which would be the phase-in of the second person fee. That only affects a few people. The layer one affects everybody, and we track those separately. This will be the last year of the phase-in of that for the residents who were affected by that. Then we have a third component, which addresses the gap. And we did this a couple years ago, 2-3 years ago. We added on to both of those things. The board added on another layer of increase to help reduce that gap. Now, you'll see that that's crossed out up here because for the second year in a row, the board has said we're not going to use that piece. So the only two pieces that compose the rate increase that you received were the year-over-year expected increases, those layer ones, and if you were as part of that phase-in for the second person adjustment, if you were affected by that, the final year of the phase-in. So there'd be two components that were involved in your rate increase. So as we look and consider the rate increases, the first thing is the rate increases are not an across-the-board percentage. So from a percentage standpoint, it's going to be, everybody's going to get the same amount, but the percentage that amount represents of an increase varies based on what you currently pay. So each person will end up getting the same amount. There are limitations on the rate increases. So anybody who moved in after February 28th, so March 1st going forward, does not get a rate increase in that current year. They'll start getting their rate increases the next year. And then for current residents, if the rate increase puts them above what the anticipated new move-in rate is, it caps right there. We will not, a existing resident will not be paying more than a new resident moving in. So we put those two limitations in there for that. So there's just a couple of things to keep in mind when we look at them. The other thing, as we get a little bit closer to kind of going through some of the calculation, we based everything on 206 occupied units. 7 of those are people who moved in after the 28th. So the costs were looked at over the 199 impacted units because those 7 don't get an increase this year. We looked at 4 options to as to how to apply those increases. That could have been, we're going to take a flat percentage and everybody gets a flat percentage. We could look at everybody gets the same dollar amount. We looked at doing it on square footage. We looked at, I think that was a suggestion from your George last year. It suggested looking at it on a square footage basis. And then we looked at it by kind of dividing up into categories what grouping of monthly fees people might be in. So we look at many different ways to do that. And the rate the way we picked is what we said, and that was to charge everybody the same amount. Each unit was charged the same amount. So that layer 1 increase, that was the $120 that came through. Now remember, if you were subject to the phase-in of the cottage, there would have been another 50 on top of that. So the total would have been 170. So 120 and the 50 is the 170. And the reason we picked that's it was the same method that we used last year, and we thought it was the fairest way to do it because it really reflects the goods and services that are available to every resident on the campus. That's what it covers. And so it seemed that for the year-to-year increase, everybody has equal access to those. Everybody should share equally in those. So that's the reason that we chose that method. To get into a little bit of the numbers on a kind of a large scale, I know they're going to be a little difficult to read, but I'll try and remember to put these up on the portal if you guys would like me to. But you can look at, I have the current year and the prior year. We start with the cost per occupied unit. We say, we look at the change, year-to-year change, and what that's going to be. We come down to the total budgeted increases to cost. So we anticipate this year that our costs will go up to provide the same services that we've provided in this current year. We think it'll cost us about $285,000 more next year. And when we did rate increases last year, the anticipation was that this year's costs would go up by $400,000+, which they did. If you'll notice, the next line is the total units that this increase is divided among, and that's pretty much the same as last year. This year was 199, last year was 198. That's what it's based on. So that worked out to this year $120 per unit. Last year was about $169 per unit, so lesser. If you go on down to the bottom section here, this kind of gives you when I mentioned earlier where the components of our cost increases are. This year, almost 64% of it is related to personnel and labor. And that's what I was talking about, these different regulations that came in with minimum wage, health insurance and benefits. So 63%, 64% of that $285,000 is related to personnel costs. 21% is all the other operating costs, and 15% is related to the G&A expenses. If you compare that to last year, 50% of the increase was related to personnel costs and 30% to other operating expenses. And that's because we increased some of the services and we added some personnel that we needed to add last year that we're not adding this year. And so that explains part of why those percentages are different. So when we look at it in total, we tend to look at the last slide that I have. We're going to look at, over the last 3 or so years, what these rate increases have looked like at a more global level. So for Lutheran Haven as a whole, not for any one of you as an individual necessarily, but as a whole for the organization. So if we look at that, you'll see we've got 2 years ago, the layer one, just that increase year over year expense, was 10.3%. If you added the $50, the phase-in, it came out to just about 12% for Lutheran Haven as an organization. If you looked at 2026, so last year, it came out to 8.84, 8.9%, and 9.5 or 9.6. This year, it's coming out to less than 6. It's 5.86%. The overall, including that the third year of the phase-in, comes in at 6.4. The last column represents in any given year what an individual, the highest percentage that an individual encountered or was subject to, I guess. So you can see that in 2025, it was almost 28%. So some residents, if they did the math, what I'm paying today versus what my rate went up, there were a few people that hit that 28% mark. But that's because they were paying very, very low rates. And so last year it was 22%. This year it's 19%. If you look to the far right, I guess that's the right. Layer one, last year was a 14.5% decrease versus what it was in 25. This year versus last year, it's 33, almost 34%. And if you look at this year versus 2 years ago, it's about 46% less of an increase. And I want to point that out to you because what we have said is as the operations improve, we should see these rate increases starting to normalize and come back down to more reasonable, what we would call reasonable levels. And that's what we're seeing. Our operations each year have gotten better. Our rate increases as a percentage have gotten lower. So we're not trying to get the most that we can. We're seeing those start to normalize, and that is that's just the last slide. I just wanted you to show that and make that correlation that as we continue to improve the operations, then rate increases will always be a factor. We're always going to have them, but they're getting more and more closer to what we would consider normal rate increases. So with that, I'll turn it over to Michael Ray to answer any questions you have about the finances. And no, we have any questions, I think? Okay, Mr. Norm.
Hypothetical, I hate that saying. I'll use myself as an example. If I require additional care and my son comes to live with me and take care of me, are you going to charge me a second person fee?
Okay.
He doesn't have a contract with you, but he lives with me to take care of me. Will I be charged a second person fee?
Okay, so the question is, if as Norm, because we'll just make it personal. So as Norm gets older, no, and needs more services, If a family member comes to basically take care of him and live with him, will we be charging a fee? And the answer, an additional fee. The answer is we are looking at that and whether or not we can do that or should do that or not. The answer is we do not have a firm answer at this moment.
I asked that question because he would be consuming as much additional cost as a spouse would.
Not necessarily. Yeah, he's not necessarily, if he's eating at the place, if he is participating, if they're just taking care of you, right, then they're going to be in the house. Now, one thing to remember is you have to have a bedroom, right? You can't, if you only have one bedroom, anybody is not allowed to stay overnight sleeping on the couch. That's not allowed. But if you have an extra bedroom and your family member staying with you to take care of you, theoretically, they're not going to be using as many of the services as others. They're not going to be participating in Aquafit. They're not going to be using the gym. They're not going to be participating in other resident-centered events or using the clinic. They may accompany you to the clinic, but they're not going to be seeing the doctor at the clinic. So there is a difference in what services that they will and what their usage would be for that. But at this point, that's something that the board is considering. There's some legal implications to doing that as not part of an agreement. So we have, our attorneys have been looking at that, and it's just a question we have not settled. But it would be a question that the board will be addressing. It seems like an easy answer, but it's not. Nothing's easy. Yes, Ron? Okay, so currently we have, let's see, we're at 204. We have 19 empty units, I think. Is that right, Raleigh? Where are you? Yeah, is that about right? 19 empty? Got 224 or something like that. So we've got about, say, 10 or so. Okay, and
What are you doing to speed up filling them?
marketing. That's what we're doing. We're at 94%. That's pretty full. Across the board in the industry, 90% is considered a really good occupancy. So we have our wait list, we hit our wait list up, we advertise all the things that Stephanie does on a normal marketing. That's what we're doing. That's all we can do.
What takes so long?
I don't know. I think it's different in a case. Now, if you're talking about why there's units that are empty, maybe that need refurbishing or things like that, that's a different question. But as to why it takes people, we have people on our list, 100 people on our list. It's not us keeping them from moving and saying you can't move in. They're just not ready to move yet. So not everybody on that list is ready to move tomorrow as soon as a unit is ready. So we have people that put deposits on there and have been depositors for years. What's the longest deposit, Steph? If you just off the top, not to put you on the spot, but put you on the spot.
Yeah, I think when one of our residents, I don't know currently, but I mean, some people like 20 years.
Yeah, so we've had people that have put on for years. Yeah, go ahead, Steph.
I have a feeling his question is more about like the renovations and,
Yeah, and
once they're done, I mean, we're pretty much closing within 30 days.
yeah, so we have some that when we have some residents who want a particular type of unit that's not available and is not being renovated. We have some people when we know that somebody wants this unit and it needs to be renovated, that unit, we start renovating it right away. But we don't renovate all of the units at the same time because we don't have the capital to do it, nor do we have the labor pool to be able to do it. But generally within 30 days is what Steph has said. If somebody wants a particular unit and that type of unit is available, and we've had people that have moved in and waited until a unit is available and then moved into that type of unit. But right now we don't have. I think we've got 2 or 3 closings left for this year. Steph? Yeah, we have two closings for the end of the month. So we're closing them as fast as we can. But the date that the person moves in might go 30 to 60 days, depending on the type of unit, how much renovation work might be there. But we have several units that are open and ready, but we don't have anybody that wants that particular type of unit. And that's something that we can't control on that. I think, hang on, Ron. Norm. Ron, any other question? Okay, I'll come back to you, Norm, because you've already had one question. George? Yeah, sure. Then I don't have to repeat the question.
Yeah, my name was brought up, so I thought I could give a little explanation. I've lived here for 6 years. 7? Going on 7. My increases over that period of time is 80%, close to doubling. The inflation rate for this period of time is 27%. I'm just throwing some figures out to you. The year ending June 30th, the inflation rate was 3.5%. The annual rental increase for properties in the United States is from 3 to 5%. For the period 2019 to 2023, the rental increase was 40%. For the past 2 years, 24 and 25, there's been a decline of 1 to 3% in rental increases across the United States. The annual percent increase for independent living in the state of Florida for the past year is from 4 to 7%. So I wanted to show those figures in how Lutheran Haven is comparing with what's going on in the United States. My name was brought up pertaining to what I had recommended. In my estimation, Lutheran Haven has the most unfair practice for what the residents are paying. It is unequal. It is not fair. I was a budget director for the state of Florida, so I'm familiar with how to do budgets. Basically, after the expenses are made, you determine what the income has to be from each of the units. For the cottages, the correct way that is the universal method of calculating and charging expenses is you take the square footage under roof of each unit, you total that up, you subtract out the vacancy rate, which is 7%. You then divide that figure into what the income is that must be produced by the unit. We're speaking of the cottages now. That'll give you a cost per square foot of each unit under roof. You then have what each unit would pay per year, divide that by 12. It is fair, equal for all units. There isn't new residents having to pay an inflated rate, old residents paying less. This is fair and equitable. This is the method used by the universe of property in the United States. Any questions? I'll be glad to answer them.
Well said.
I got a question. Do those figures that you're talking about, does that reflect any kind of maintenance or anything, or is that just for what we get here at Lutheran, is that any consideration at all?
It takes into consideration the fact that I have 2 sisters, ex-wife and myself living here. We all have different size units, yet we all pay the same amount, where just common sense tells me that a larger unit would have more maintenance costs than a smaller unit. Costs more to maintain the roof, more to maintain the walls.
You didn't answer my question.
Well, I didn't quite understand your question.
The question is, those figures that you're announcing, does that have any bearing on to what we received here at Lutheran Haven with the restaurant and with the other things
Yes,
coming to play? I don't believe your figures have that in.
yes, that was the figure I gave you pertaining to what the annual increase in independent living in the state of Florida for the past year was from 4 to 7%.
You can't compare Florida with what we have here. You can't.
Well, you have to have some, they do a,
But you have a lot of things that you can take advantage of.
right, but they do a comparison of the units, correct?
Yeah.
And I'm just quoting facts that are present, that,
I don't think you're being fair when it comes to comparing.
Okay, I'm gonna hold off for just a second on some questions. First, and thank you, George, for the research. I don't want to, this is y'all's meeting, so you have plenty of time to talk, but we are kind of running over, so we can have some off-book conversations. But I do want to point out a couple of things. Number one, your maintenance fees cover more than just the walls, right? So they cover the entire campus, what it takes to keep the campus going, all the other activities. It's not just related to the unit itself. And most of our units are within a range of square footages. So Mr. Cron is correct in that is absolutely a method that is employed by many people to determine rates. But there are other methods as well. So as I mentioned, the reason we use the same amount per unit is that all of our residents, regardless of the unit that you live in, have this equal access to all of the services that are offered on the campus. The other option is, the other thing that isn't pointed out or wasn't mentioned is where you started. So yes, our increases have been higher than most, but that's because we were so underpriced when many people moved in. Rate increases were not done for many years, 1%, some years, and we can go back decades, where there were 0% increases. So when you have an organization that does an increase every year, you have the compounding effect. So 3% now raises that. 3%, now I'm getting 3% of the prior 3%. You multiply that over time, you keep getting these same more reasonable percentages that are probably more in line with what Mr. Cron was saying. But that didn't happen at the Haven. So that's what created the gap. The rate increases did not happen to cover the cost. We can show down and dirty, right? I mean, if we wanted to cover the cost of providing the services, the rate increase would have gone up a lot more because we're losing money. But we're trying not to. And we're trying to keep those reasonable and bring the operations in and maintain the value that we have. So he's not incorrect in the information he's provided. I'm sure it's accurate. It's just not applicable to our specific situation and our history. So that's that would be my response to that, and we could have a whole big debate about it and go, we'd be here till 5, so I don't want to do that, but we don't have to end the discussion at the meeting. But so I know, Norm, you had a question, I think. Pass. Okay. And I saw, did anybody else have?
I just have a comment.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
We find out that there are people who have lived here for 10 or 12 years.
Mhm.
And their rent for the exact same unit is half of what we're being charged. Plus, we signed on as Mr. and Mrs.
Mhm.
2 people, but all of a sudden we have an extra person. There's no one new extra living in our house. That is not right.
Okay.
And it only applies to some of us, not all of us. That's not right.
Noted. Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
Is it accurate to say that most of our competitors have had that for many years?
Oh, yes.
We're just now putting it
Yeah, so what we did, well, so anybody new moving in, it's applied to. There is a second person fee to anyone new put in. When, I know, I understand, yeah, I know, I'll finish. So, to answer your question, yes, that is the prevalent practice within the industry. Lutheran Haven did not do that for many, many years. So 2 years ago or 3 years ago, I guess, Lutheran Haven's board made a decision that we needed to bring ourselves in line with industry practice and with industry standards. So if you go to another community, there's going to be a second person fee. For people who were already here at Lutheran Haven, what we said is we would only increase that fee to 1/2 of what new people move in. And that's giving credit to the prior, whatever, their prior service or their prior moving in. So people that came in under this phase-in program, they're going to be capped out at the 150, whereas new people moving in are paying twice that much. And so that was, it was a business decision that was made. It was not, some people, wasn't good for some people, but it was a business decision that the board made and that we needed to make to bring our rates more in line with the cost of the services that we're providing. So that's why it was done.
Why didn't you apply to everyone that lived here before? He had already been living here.
Our contract, okay, the reason that it did not apply to everyone, and it applied to most people, I think there were about 12 people that it didn't apply to, and their contracts were different. When they moved in, it was under a different contract than the contract that was in place for all the people that got it. It was a different contract. Yes. 2 questions and then we'll wrap it up because we've really gone way over.
I'm going to step on the third rail.
Okay.
If you go back 20, 25 years ago, under good Christian principles, the fees were kept artificially low, but the costs continued to rise.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, you get in a quandary of saying, do I give 100% increase to cover the cost, or do I slowly raise it? You're slowly raising it to get us up. But you can't blame Jerry and current management for stuff that wasn't done 25 years ago. And that's what it's there.
Well, I appreciate that, Norm, and there's a truism there, and not to say that the management of prior years or decades or whatever was wrong. There was enough money being provided through the nursing home that covered all these losses, and because to Norm's point, they didn't want to raise the rates. They had this money coming in from another source that they used to deflect or cover the losses that were coming from the independent side, not raising the rates. So when that nursing home went away, or when actually not when it went away, before it went away, everything changed and the nursing home was losing money. So we had to jettison that because it was losing. I think when we got rid of it, it had gone from providing maybe close to $1 million a year, a little less than $1 million a year in cash flow, to using about $1.2 million. And so when that went away, that's when we had the big, 4 years ago, we had the really big dark times, so to speak. And it was very painful. But in the process of recovering from that, we've had to make some of these moves and start increasing, to Norm's point, gradually, and allowing, as new people moving in, we raised the rates for new people moving in so that they were paying a market rate that was still lower than most of our competition, but was enough to cover the cost. And over time, as more of the newer people are moving in, that means we don't have to hurt many of the long-term residents who came in paying much less. Gordon?
Jerry, in summary, what I struggle with this concept, I understand and feel for our fellow resident on the other side about rates, and somebody's paying more or less for the same unit. And I struggled with that for a while. Is that fair, not fair? Decisions that were made by 25 years ago, et cetera, but here we are today.
Right.
I was able to sort through it, thinking of it like an established neighborhood, let's say Ellavale Woods. You have people living next door to each other in the same size house. One moved in 25 years ago, their mortgage payment is $1,000 less than the guy that moved in that's got a higher mortgage rate. And it's slowly being adjusted by property taxes, et cetera,
Right.
et cetera. So you had some inequalities based on when you moved in, what your mortgage was, et cetera. So you look back at when you owned a home and you were in that situation, yeah, you may have had a lower rate or a higher rate than your neighbor. And that's kind of how I got through it and said, okay, let's make sure we're solvent though, okay, for
Yeah.
the future. I want to live here 10 years from now.
I think that's a good analogy. Thank you, Gordon. That's a really good analogy, and you can, it's a good analogy. I think probably we should probably go ahead and. Oh, yes, sir.
Are these slides going to be available on the scroll?
Probably. I don't know if I should put them on the scroll, but I can put them on the portal, the resident portal. Yeah, I'll put them up on the portal. For just my portion, right? Now, who cares what Raleigh said? I mean, I was just all that kind of stuff. But yeah, okay, just the number section. Okay, I can do that.
Jerry, since it's public information, it might be useful to also put up there what our competitors are charging.
Yeah. So when we finished, we haven't finished this year's competitive analysis. Last year's is on the portal already. So we do put that up there, so you can see where we benchmark to other communities and what they charge. So we do that. I think last year may have been the first year we did it, and you may have been the one that suggested it. I'm not sure, but before we did not do that, but now we put that information up there. Okay? All right, everybody. Well, again, thank you for showing up and caring so much and for all that you do. And go have a blessed rest of your day.